We'll hear from Erik Karlsson as well. An unbelievable performance in his return to the Sens lineup last night. And our good friend Pav, he of the bad songs, has a song to celebrate the Senators being in the playoffs. Despite Steve's protestations because he doesn't have a song himself, Mr. King of the Songs. We're coming back with that, too, on Sports Radio, the Team 1200. Right. Look, we ran out of time to play Pav's playoff song, so we'll have to save that for next hour. Again, we'll file that under the it's so bad, it's good.
Unless I get loose with the deleting over there.
All right, let's get some emails and Pav's song. Ryan writes, and Ryan says, I'm Ryan, I'm not a douche Leafs fan. Wrench to Pav's parents or guardians. Guys, it is really not his fault. Jordan from the Ville. When does Pav's 3 weeks of fame finally come to a conclusion? It's about time JR hits him with a, we're good. That's from Jordan from the Ville.
We're good.
All right.
Do it live. It'll be fun.
Well, let's listen to it. I have not heard it. This is the great thing about Pav's songs. When you and I hear it, and the good listener.
Nothing great.
We're all hearing it for the first time. The only person that's heard it is Hammer. And the only reason that you have to go through it is because that one of them...
Yeah, he swore.
Yeah, which is on Pav-like. Come on, Pav, you're better than that. Of course, Pav's been hitting us with some terrible songs. It started, was it good old Corey Conacher after the Conacher trade? That was the first one?
Yeah, it was fun.
Good old Corey Conacher.
When Steve does a playoff song, there's got to be some kazoo in it.
No, I may not do a playoff song. That'll teach you.
What?
Oh, you've stopped doing it. You're so lazy. You used to be
atrocious.
I've done a playoff song every year they've been in the playoffs.
King of the songs.
Yeah.
And, well, no, but you've done other songs as well. You haven't. When was the last song that you did?
Well, I'm seeing how much grief, that Pav is getting
He
here.
did the Tortorella song last year.
Yeah, that's a year ago.
Which was solid.
Was it? Really?
Yes, it was.
Before we get to Pav, let's review.
No,
you
I
got
gotta
it?
find it. No, of course not.
Oh, you see, it couldn't have been that good. If you don't have it ready to go, here we are. The Senators have clinched a playoff spot. And if it's not top of mind for you to have at the ready, knowing that we could go to it, the song from last year's playoffs leads me to conclude, Hammer, that you don't really actually think it's very good at all. I think that's what that means.
Well, let's talk about it. Let's get cards on the table, as you like to say. Pav's songs, get more airplay. Not just more airplay than any song that I ever do, which takes a considerable amount of time. Not only to get more airplay, but they get like a show-long setup. You start at 6 a.m. Later this morning, it's Pav's new song. Later this morning, stick around next, it's Pav's new song.
Well, that's the art of the broadcast tease, Steve.
Whereas the one that I go into $1 million studio and spend a lot of time on production with, it gets played maybe 4 times during the playoff run and gets no teasing whatsoever. Not the teasing, the broadcast.
I got to back Steve up on this.
Thank you.
You don't sell it very well.
So my incentive for doing these songs is what, Hammer?
Nothing, absolutely nothing.
Thank you.
I like to accentuate the negativity and the bad. That's how I roll.
Come on, Warrensy, get into the studio and spend about 8 hours on a song so we can play it once.
You can do all these good songs, seemingly good songs. I like to play the bad songs.
So the challenge for old Warrensy then is to make a bad good song.
Maybe. Let's review.
Easy.
Have you found it now?
I got it.
So obviously you didn't think well of it because you'd buried it in your catalog of things that you save.
Oh, there's so much.
All right, let's go back to last year's. This is a song for the Rangers-Sens playoff series.
Works it across ice, Spezza. Drops it back, Karlsson. His shot scores! Erik Karlsson off the crossbar and in.
Big Mac keeps them working. Alfie's playing like he's 21.
Alfredsson scores!
If Senators are in a rebuild, can you imagine when the building's done?
What do you say to those fans? Odds are you're not going to win 75% of your games with a young team.
Well, my expectation is to win, and that's what I do.
Well, I heard Rangers haven't won much. Well, I heard Redden signed and Avery too. In 70 years, only one win. Well, that's what you get for wearing blue and they suck too.
All right, so that's last year's playoff song.
Wait for the chorus. We waited that long.
We hate every team in blue.
Competing against that team, we will get killed tonight!
Freak out, Tortorella.
We're not going to have a chance to win!
Got
Okay, carry on.
How much time do we have to talk about?
All right, so are you because you've taken a bit of a suck attack here on the air. It's quite obvious. Hammer, you got my back on
No,
that?
I really don't care that
I
much.
got your back on that one.
All right. How about this? How about myself and the good listeners' help that we give you not an idea of which the theme should be. It will be dictated by probably who they play, etc. But the song that you will parody, because maybe that's part of my issue. It's got to be the right song.
What's your issue?
Whoa, you like the songs that Pav has been parodying?
No. Pav aside. No, in all seriousness.
Because he's got some cheesy 80s songs going.
I think the key is to have the good song that you're parodying. It's got to be the right tempo. It's got to be, if you're going with old school, is it a kind of a tired old school? Because a lot of the songs we've heard, as we've often said, Steve, rock radio has killed most great classic songs.
Classic rock radio.
Yeah. They've just played it way too often to the point where we're just...
Classic rock radio. You son of a bitch. I hate you.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Huh? So I'm almost of the opinion, even though, most of the music made today sucks, because it's throwaway
You're going to get
music.
snappy, too.
It's very catchy, but it doesn't it's not very good for very long. So I'm wondering if we go down that road, or do we go down the classic rock song? That's all I'm throwing out there.
Well, I'm only throwing out there because I don't care much in the big picture. Okay?
Get snappied.
Yeah, exactly. I only brought up the whole process because you're giving me grief for not producing songs, and I wanted to make sure that you knew why that was. And you can, I'll take any input that anybody wants to throw in.
Hammer?
Let's get to Pav's song.
Let's get to Pav's song. Okay, this is for the playoffs. Let me read his email. We had the guy who was a neighbor yesterday, because you want to know where Pav lives so you could stop him.
Many of the people who follow me on Twitter and have emailed the program are demanding an address so they can put a stop to it. Yeah,
we know he lives in Nepean, apparently, because Nate in Nepean.
You'll appreciate that you're narrowing it down for everybody.
Well, Nepean is a city of 150,000 people. I think we're okay there. Here we go. Found his email. Sens made the playoffs. That's all I can say. That's from Pat.
What a great email. I'm really glad you looked for it.
Well, I looked for it this morning at 5:30. I'd forgotten. Anyway, without further ado, here we go.
Get this over with.
Pav's song for the Sens.
Sens made the playoffs. They are off to round one. The lockout caused a lot of layoffs, but now it's about the fun. Hey, what team do you cheer for? It doesn't matter in the end, because the only team that will win the cup are the Ottawa Sens. So let's raise their roofie, and let's praise Captain Alfie. Yeah. Gonchar scored the winner with a blast quicker than quick. No one can stop these precious Sens. They are just way too sick. Let's hear the crowd go. Totally insane. Watch these young guns blast past teams led by Paul McLean. Na 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 na. Is
that the extent of it? That's good. Oh. See, I told you it was worth it.
I hope the Ottawa Senators didn't hear that. They're going to be a lesser team for having heard it.
Oh, that may be one of the worst songs you could ever parody in your life.
I'm going to send this off to Sens DJ. He'll get this on the air on Saturday.
Tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night at Scotiabank Place.
Tweet it to him. See what happens.
Well, in your thought about choice of song, there's Pav sitting around with his friends. We should doctor up Safety Dance by Men Without Hats, a Canadian song from the mid-1980s.
We need our Canadian content, so we're good there. We're all covered off. All right, 8:49. We'll take a break.
Rob writes, I'd like to throw a purse at Steve for being a briny witch.
What? Solid.
About his songs versus Pav's. The jealousy's overwhelming. Like Banya to your Seinfeld. Move over, Steve. It's Pav's time. That's from Rob.
Oh, rubbish. Get up.
Well, that's how it is. That's how it is. I surrender to Pav and quality music making that he is doing there.
Reg writes,
Hey, Reg.
Well, good old Corey Conacher. His time on ice continues to decline with each playing of the Pavs song. Down to 8:53 last night. Couple more spins, and good old Corey might be gone completely. That's from Reg. So Reg is blaming the good old Corey Conacher song for Corey's decline in production and ice time. He may be onto something.
FP Frank has tapped out. You finally done it. I punched off Tigor. Last straw, Pav. JR, it's not funny. It's not entertaining. It's crap. After 13 years, bye-bye. Don't worry about rating this. I won't hear it anyway. That's from FP Frank. He's angry.
Good. I like it.
What?
That's
the
like
key.
losing listeners?
Enrage the listeners. It's
People that say
cutting-edge
they'll-
programming right there.
People that say they never listen again listen even more. It's the Lowell Green theory. Ace writes, bag of wrenches and a rope to the grobs of that Jack Ace who wrote the Corey Conacher song. All day yesterday, I was incessantly singing the chorus to good old Corey Conacher.
Oh, good old Corey Conacher.
And then I tried to rhyme it with an harmonica, and my wife kept saying to me, WTF.
Steve needs to stop sailing the Jelly Sea.
I need to hear more.
Guess that's jealousy, I guess. Until he put out this year's new playoff song. Pav, Pav is the song king. All right.
Time for you to put out, Steve. They're demanding it.
No, I'm boycotting the whole thing.
Stop holding back.
Yeah, that's it. I'm done.
Coach's Graveyard trademark writes, guys, please throw a Corey Conacher wrench at my neighbors who insist on putting out the wrong color recycling box every week. Coach's Graveyard trademark.
Oh,
Very good
old
point.
Corey Conacher.
Sean writes, I'd like to throw a wrench or a sledgehammer at Steve for not having a playoff song ready the day after the clincher. Regardless that we don't know our opponent yet, now we have to let our ears bleed by listening to the playoff song from Pav. That's from Sean. That's a good point. We may not have played Pav's song today had Steve had one at the ready, but he didn't. And that's sheer laziness. Go ahead, Steve.
Okay. Gotta wait and see who they're playing first. I'm not going to write 4 songs, 3 being provisional. The Dean writes, would you guys be so kind as to send a couple of wrenches by Bordelot to my own brain for having heard that mess? Maybe it'll knock it out of my head. While we're at it, fridge on JR for having insisted in subjecting the general public to such a, not a travesty, but a pavistry from the Dean. Several reasons. Did you read Jeff in Stitz Vegas?
No.
Several reasons why we should never hear the new Sens playoff song again. Are we billing it that?
No.
But the main one is the lyric, "The Ottawa Sens." A complete quote from, of all people, Bob Cole.
It's Cole-esque.
Inexcusable, and should be banned for that reason alone. Oh, and it also sucked. Cheers, boys. That's from Jeff in Stitz Vegas.
It was a bad one. Listen, I acknowledge. Some of them were so bad, it's good. That one was bad, it's bad.
None of them are so bad, it's good. They're all so bad. Stop with the Pav stuff. My ears are bleeding. I can't sleep at night. I'm losing weight. My boss thinks I'm on drugs. It could be the worst thing I've ever heard or experienced. Like Jim Carrey in Ace Ventura says, hey, you want to hear the most annoying sound in the world? And on to Pav. Make it stop. That's from Chris. Dave writes, I've been a long-time loyal listener since the days of OSR. Sadly, I have to say that if you play one more of Pav's horrendous songs, you leave me no choice but to start to listen to whatever radio station that Stu hasn't overstayed his welcome at. Wrench to the back of the head of JR. That's from Dave.
OSR.
So, without further delay, Matt and CP writes, you know what? Pav clearly is a problem, and you, JR, are enabling him. I'm sure he has a wife, maybe some kids, a job, that are all being neglected horribly so that he can churn out the next song for Tigor. Bills are piling up, and Pav hasn't been to work in 3 weeks. His wife reminding him that his children miss him. Pav shouts out from the other side of the locked studio, bathroom, door, I'm working on my music in here! The Sens need me! JR needs me! A wrench to JR for enabling Pav. You're not just hurting us, the listeners. You're hurting Pav. That's from Matt and CP.
You know what? That may be a good point. That may be a good point. Have we hit the end of the road with the Pav songs? Was today the tipping point?
I thought the good old Corey
Kenny says
Conacher was a fun one-off.
If we kept just good old Corey Conacher, would that suffice for everybody?
And just that quick little clip?
Oh, good old Corey Conacher.
Because that has become sort of so annoying. It's almost like it's it's kind of like the What Happened lady. It's
and you
part
can't
of the show
you
now.
can't play it unless you does something.
And he's been quiet.
8 minutes last night.
Yeah.
So
right. We'll take the weekend.
Ben Bishop for a guy who's playing 8 minutes. Interesting.
We'll take the weekend to sort of ponder that, and I'm sure by then old Warrensy will have a playoff song ready to go. All right, Monday morning, Stevie?
No, I'm not doing one. It's over.
Oh, don't go into the corner with your ball and play by yourself.
Steve Warren.
It's all about Pav.
Come on.